track days are cool, but this weather, not so much. It is blazing hot here at Buttonwillow Raceway. So stick around. I'm going to show you how to stay cool at the racetrack, and I'll explain why I got a catheter sticking out my shirt. Alright, gonna continue this in the car because it's pretty hot outside. 95 degrees, I'm not gonna mess with that. But the way I keep cool at the track is with my own DIY cool suit. Now for those of you who aren't familiar with cool suit or ultra chiller or whatever other brand there is out there on the market, basically it's a chest or a container with a pump, some lines, and a shirt that's stitched with latex tubing. Now these systems can cost as much as a couple $100 just for the cooler and the pump and the lines, and then an extra $100+ for a shirt. I'm not going to spend that much money for comfort, but I like to be comfortable, so I sourced my own system to accomplish basically the same thing. Now what I did is I found a used cold water / ice therapy unit off of eBay called the DonJoy Iceman Classic for $35. That came with the cooler, the pump, the power source, the lines, the dry brake fittings, and instead of a shirt, it came with a membrane that you could put in certain spots of your body to do therapy. Basically, all I did was I cut out the membrane and I reused a lot of the lines and the dry brake fittings, and I ended up sewing my own shirt, which I'll show you guys how I did that right now. Now for the cooler system, I'm going to be using a DonJoy Iceman Classic, which I found on eBay for around $35. They are getting expensive, so see if you can find one used. I definitely recommend that. If not, I see them going for about $120. Another alternative is to piece your own system together with like an aquarium pump and some fittings. The system that I'm using also comes with almost like a bladder, which I pretty much cut out already, and I took the dry brake fittings from it so that I can use those in the system. So in order to do this cool shirt setup, I'm going to be using a wife beater. Probably not the best material because it's very stretchy and I don't think it's going to be very strong. But the reason I want to use it, it has this grid that I can follow. So I'm going to be hoping for the best and just use what I got. On top of that, it conforms to my skin. It hugs me pretty tight. So I think this is going to be probably the best option versus a small t-shirt, so I'm just gonna roll with it. So I already tried this on to do a couple measurements. I know that I need to have all of the tubes basically higher than 6.5 inches from the edge of my wife beater. So for this setup, I'm gonna be using some latex line. This is about 10 feet of line. Pretty nice material. It's very flexible, very malleable, unlike some of the plastic clear stuff. Kind of like this. This stuff sucks because it does not want to conform at all. I also got some Y connectors. 10-piece plastic. These are actually for a 1/4 inch ID, and this line is a 3/16 inch ID. So I'm basically going to try my luck, and I'm going to try to stretch this line over these connectors, which I already tried and it's going to work. So no need for reducers. So the way I originally had this planned out, I was going to run some lines going through the front of the shirt, back down, and then to the back, where this is the hot side. And it'll pretty much do the same thing, loop around, and it'll come to that point. But with 10 feet of line, I realized that it is way too little. So basically I'm going to be doing like one up, and then it's going to go straight to the back, and then up again, and then back around. If that makes any sense. You guys will see it when you see the stitching. So I cut out about 3 wingspans worth of thread, assuming I have a 5-foot wingspan, about 15 feet of thread. But I'm going to do a double thread. So I got my 2 ends for my double thread, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to loop this around and create a knot. A nice ugly knot. Okay, so I need to start my stitch, and I'm basically just going to pick an arbitrary spot, somewhere a little bit offset from the center line, which, I mean, I'll do it right about here. So I'm going to go from the back side, and there's a lot of videos showing how to start a stitch. So this one I'm pretty much going to start the same way you would do like a button. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my god. Now that I got my X, and that's my second knot. Now I'm going to take my line, so I'm going to leave about 4 inches, very arbitrary, no idea how I'm going to start doing this, but I'm just going to do it. So if you're wondering what kind of stitching method I'm doing, basically all I'm doing, I don't even know what this is called, but I basically go in, out, and then I backtrack to the other side, and then I go in, out. So I'll show you right now. And I'm basically going to wherever that last stitch was, out. And this is exactly why I'm using this wife beater, because it makes it really easy to go in a relatively straight line, so I can follow that grid. Sound fair enough?
Sound fair enough?
Alright, so one side is finished. Not really how I wanted it to turn out, and the stitching is pretty bad, but as you can see, pretty much goes all the way to the top, then makes its way to the back, goes over my shoulder blade, and then comes back around to finish off right there. Alright, moving on to the second side. It's gonna be a long night. Alright, so the shirt is pretty much finished. Everything is all stitched up, front and back. So as you can see, comes through, up, and then to the back. I already have my Y connectors hooked up. So now all I gotta do is cut this up for the dry break fittings, and my shirt's good to go. Now, because the system is a therapy system, it's not really meant for in-car use. So the way I supplied power to this unit is with a 9-volt circuit lighter adapter that I found off eBay. I extended the lines to reach the cooler in the back, in the trunk, and I also spliced in a switch. Now, as far as cooling goes, you have a couple options. You can just go onto your local grocery store or a gas station before your track event and fill the chest up with some ice. But what I did is I took 6 water bottles, froze them overnight, put them in the cooler before I headed over to the track, and a couple more ice cubes here and there just to fill the empty space. The reason I like this method more is, number one, I don't have to carry around a crap load of ice, and number two, it's not as efficient as regular ice cubes, and it tends to last longer throughout the day. The last time I actually tried the system with ice cubes, and by the end of the day, I wasn't really getting any cold water through my suit anymore, which I'm actually still getting some cold water. It's the end of the track day, so I'm good. Now, the way I have this mounted is some random holes and stuff like that in my chassis. I actually managed to use one of the holes near the trunk area, as well as the hook for the spare tire, which turns out at the end of the day, it came all apart and I got water all over my trunk. So I need to find a better solution. Some eyelets mounted in the trunk will do just fine. I have it mounted with a ratchet strap. So really simple to mount up. Not much work at all. Anyways, that is it for this video, guys. I hope I kept it short. This is really just supposed to be a simple video on how I stay cool at the track, or even in the street car. If you don't have AC, I don't really care. Use it as you like. I personally like to use it on track. So make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below, guys, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe.